Tonight, new concerns about the mental health of college students on campuses all over the country.
Child and adolescent mental health disorders are the most common illnesses that children will experience under the age of 18.
50 to 60% of college kids have a psychiatric disorder. A college student kills himself every day.
If I were to describe my mental health issue in the most creative or abstract way possible, I would say it's like I walk into a room and then all of the walls just keep closing in and then I'm just stuck and it's just me in there.
The way my anxiety makes me feel is like air inside of me, like a weight holding me down.
I just felt numb to the world. Like I was surrounded by great things, but just I couldn't be happy.
Initially, I was like, I guess in denial, because I always knew that like, I felt like my brain operated different than a lot of other people, but it was hard to accept that because I didn't want to like I wanted to be normal. I didn't want to like have to struggle with things that other people don't struggle with, and I didn't want people to see me as like weak or like any less of a person than I am.
15 million kids, most of whom don't get help. In fact, 60% with depression and 80% with anxiety do not get any treatment.
My family noticed some changes in my overall demeanor, and my mom suggested that I go to therapy, and I didn't. I wasn't receptive to that idea at all because in my head I was like, I'm not crazy. I don't need therapy. Therapy's for people who are crazy.
Did you feel shame or stigma or embarrassment?
Yeah, definitely. That's a big reason why I didn't tell anyone sooner.
Mental health was never something super talked about in my family or amongst my friends or anything. So even just the idea of therapy was super unfamiliar to me. So I was used to from media or from movies, there'd be someone crazy and then it would show them going to therapy, and that's the idea of therapy that I was used to.
On the next Dr. Oz, everybody wants to know, am I normal or nuts?
I hate wet wooden spoons. I'm terrified of public restrooms.
Your weirdest quirks.
It goes everywhere with me. Am I nuts?
Your biggest anxieties.
I have a big fear of...
Even your dreams explained.
I just wake up feeling so guilty and horrible.
Should you be worried?
Am I normal?
This behavior is... It's not normal.
No guns, it doesn't matter. You have people that are mentally ill, and they're going to come through the cracks, and they're going to do things that people will not even believe are possible.
Many of these shootings, we have people who have mental disturbances.
We know that most of these people are mentally deranged, so do we need to do a better job in mental health? You bet we do.
Horror films are one of the most successful and popular genres of movies, but horror films contribute something different to the mental health discussion than all other genres of film. Unlike drama, the dialogue in horror tends to be limited, with much of the screen time spent building atmosphere and tension. Mental health in horror movies is usually portrayed through violence and is often used as a scapegoat. Another example can be found in Halloween. The main character in Halloween, Michael Myers, is shown committing violent acts at a very young age. After being placed in a mental health facility, he breaks out and begins terrorizing his hometown. In 80s slasher movies, crazy is personified as evil and often masked or disfigured to ramp up the shock effect. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, made in 1974, follows the character Leatherface. Leatherface is modeled after Wisconsin killer Ed Gein, who was diagnosed as having been a schizophrenic as well as a psychopath. The stereotype of mental health facilities can be seen in numerous movies. For example, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest includes a dramatic description of patient treatment, showing psychiatric hospitals as prisons with no regard for patient rights or welfare. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest also includes electroconvulsive therapy, which adds to the stigma around patient treatment in mental facilities. Another common theme in horror films is the main character breaking out of a mental health facility, seen in Halloween with Michael Myers. In the film Unsane, Sawyer Valentini accidentally agrees to be sectioned for a day in a mental hospital, which turns into a week after doctors and nurses begin to question her sanity.
Sawyer Valentini. I am at Highland Creek Behavioral Health Facility. I am being held here against my will.
The patients in Unsane are also violent towards one another.
Sleep? I'm gonna cut your hair off. All of your hair.
Representing it not as a place for healing and support, but of danger. The film Shutter Island also adds to the fear of being accidentally sectioned at one of these mental institutions. Horror films often misrepresent mental illness, but they also turn medical facilities, which are safe environments for vulnerable people, into something to be feared. People use the terms nut house, loony bin, madhouse, and asylums to describe mental institutions which provide much-needed care. The violent representation of the mentally ill is sadly where many get their information on issues such as psychosis and other mental disorders, as there is little representation in the media elsewhere. Stigmatizing mental institutions does not just make for a thrilling movie, but has real-world consequences.
By reporting unhelpful stories to Stigma Watch, you can stop stigma associated with mental health issues. For example, good journalism about mental illness or suicide avoids the myth that people with mental illness are violent or dangerous, labelling people by their mental illness, which is stigmatizing and can cause distress. Report problematic stories to Stigma Watch at sane.org/stigmawatch. The Stigma Watch team will contact the media outlet to advise on how to better report mental illness and suicide and ask them to make changes.
Has anxiety being an open conversation in your family helped you deal with just feelings in general?
Yeah, I have a very open family, and I guess us all having anxiety on different levels has made us more open to each other.
Recognizing how normal that going to therapy is and how a lot of people do it has definitely made me more open-minded. I have a more positive outlook on my mental health from going to therapy and realizing that it's okay to go to therapy, it's okay to look for guidance.